Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Jenny Aiello, and this is With Love, Jenny, a podcast where we meet ourselves right in the heart of our vulnerability and authenticity. In this sacred space where it's just you and I dive into real life, rich with wisdom and opportunities for deep healing. I explore what it means to truly connect to ourselves, to each other, and to something much greater than us all. In each podcast, I like to meet life right where it touches us most, in our tenderness, in our truth, in our struggles and our strength. So wherever you are on your journey, or whatever it is that you're carrying, no matter how light or heavy, just know I'm so grateful that you're here with me today. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's begin today's episode. Well, hello, and welcome to our brand new podcast. We are so eager to dive into today's episode, but first we want to give you a little introduction to who we are so that you can get to know us a little bit better right from the start. I'm Jenny. I'm a life coach, and I've practiced for over 17 years. I'm married to my husband, Bob. Gosh, I think it's 36 years, but I think I've lost count. I am the mother of 5 beautiful now adult children who are all married, and soon I'll be welcoming my 8th grandchild into the world. I am sharing that part with you because as you listen to our podcast, you'll be hearing more about this beautiful family, this beautiful life of mine, and how it weaves into some of the stories that we're going to talk about. I would tell you that on the surface, I can make my life look perfectly beautiful. And actually it is, but kind of like stained glass is perfectly beautiful, lots of shattered pieces that are put back together in a somewhat messy way. I've learned that when I shine my own light into those shards of stained glass, it can create something beautiful. And that's part of what our mission is on this podcast. But before we go into that, let me go way back to the beginning of my life and tell you a little bit about that. I was the youngest of 4, and I was the only girl. So the house was very loud and my voice was very small. And from the time I can remember, I was told I talked too much. Perhaps I was just trying to get a word in edgewise, but I was told I talked too much. And there even was times where people around me would come up with some type of hand signal or voice code to let me know that maybe I need to stop talking. And eventually, slowly over time, I silenced myself and I began talking about things that were just on the surface of life. And I didn't risk talking about things that to me were deep and spiritual and philosophical and real. So that's where I was when along came Kristen. And Kristen began asking me questions. And so I'm going to let Kristen tell you a little bit about her, who she is, her background, and how she came to be part of this podcast with me. Kristen?
Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen. I am a longtime seeker with a very passionate and determined heart. Sometimes it can come through intense. This lifetime has opened my eyes to accept being on a healing journey, which was very hard for me to see as a gift, but I have gotten there through the help of Jenny. Breaking ancestral patterns and finding joy along the way is where I'm at today. I'm a mom of 2 young school-aged boys. I am a wife, a spiritual growth enthusiast, and a marketer event planner by day. I remember from the moment I could talk, I always asked a lot of questions. Others often said to me to stop asking so many questions and to just believe what I was told. And I did, I guess you could say, for the most part. Until I met Jenny about 5 years ago. She became my life coach, and she kept telling me I asked really good questions, and really, I couldn't believe it. And I loved listening to her when she answered them. So that led us to bringing this podcast into a reality and where we are today.
Well, and we both thought it was hilarious when we realized that we had taken these 2, what we thought were afflictions, and put them together. And it made the perfect combination of a podcast, because here I can talk as much as I want and Kristen can ask all the questions she wants, and you, our listeners, get to glean from that and from our stories and our life experiences. So we're happy you're here. And I want to tell you that, the way this podcast is going to unfold is through the stories of life and through different aspects of what life deals to us, the curveballs, not just the mountaintop experiences, but really our growth lies in the valley, right? Like it's going into some of the trauma work and the shadow work, into our inner child work, and bring all these parts that have been hiding or stuffed away that are begging to be released or healed or honored at least up to the surface. So we're going to be talking about everything and holding space for all of you to explore that within your own self and learn to shine your light behind the broken shards of glass where maybe your heart has been shattered. And we're going to all do this together, and we're going to do it with love. So let's dive in. What do you say, Kristen? Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. So today I read this quote, and I want to read it to you. It's an anonymous quote. It didn't cite who said it. It said, "May you never forget that when it was hard and when you were overwhelmed and felt afraid and walked alone and felt invisible and didn't have the answers and couldn't see the way and wanted to give up, you kept going." I related so much to that. It brought tears to my eyes when I first read that. And the part of it that really, really stood out to me was the part about "and couldn't see the way." I don't know if you all have ever had that happen, but I have. I found myself walking in territory I never saw coming. I didn't have any experience with how to get through it. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have the answers. And the image that comes to mind, and one of the things you'll all learn about me is that I talk in visuals, but the image that came up was like, I felt like I was this passenger in a car with a driver that was blindfolded on a road that was dark with no light and no headlights and no car lights whatsoever, just pitch black vehicle going fast down a road. And I was preparing to go off a cliff. I was preparing to crash into something. I was prepared to have some catastrophe happen. And it was such a place of surrender for me because I had no way to have control. Some of those things you might ask, like, what, was that like? I felt that way when I was walking my dad through end of life. I felt that way when my mom declined with Alzheimer's. And I felt that way with a lot of the journey I have with my children, one who struggled with an addiction, and I had no clue how to navigate that. And in a lot of cases, there was life and death at stake. I needed to know that I was making the right decision. I was terrified of making the wrong decision. And I had no guidance, no playbook to follow, no roadmap that I could see. And I couldn't even see out the windshield in front of me. And I blindly had to vulnerably feel my way through some really, really tough experiences. And I know for a fact that I'm not the only one who's done that. So to all of you out there who have, please don't forget about the things that you've done that were hard or left you overwhelmed or afraid, or the times that you had to walk a path alone or felt invisible or didn't have answers, and when you couldn't see the way and that you wanted to give up, because guess what? You're still here. So am I. So are we. And I think these are the things that I want us to use this podcast to dive into. What was that playbook? Like, if we've all come through storms that we didn't see coming and parts of life that we know are going to happen, but until you're in it, you have no idea what it's going to be like. And we've come through. Where is the playbook? It's up to us to start sharing our stories, sharing those experiences, sharing how we got through it, and helping each other, right? And I think Ram Dass says we're all just walking each other home. But let's do it with grace and compassion and kindness and love and connection. And sharing our stories can do that.
That was so good. I just have to say, hearing that quote, I actually felt like it was written for me. I've had so many deep experiences in my life where I can totally relate to the energy behind that quote. I had a major brain bleed last year. My dad died about 6 months before that. You know, so many things that you don't know how to navigate and that feel really challenging and can make you feel really alone because people haven't traveled that exact same journey as you. The biggest thing that I had to not only learn, but put into action is surrendering, which is really hard for someone who is always over prepared, an extreme planner. When you're put into the throes of things like that, you don't even know what tools to rely on except for to surrender and to trust and to really just be in the moment and learn how to be okay in stillness, in the quiet, because you don't know what's going to happen next. But what I have learned is that in the quiet is where I have received the wisdom of how to move forward. So that was super interesting, just hearing that quote after all that I've been through recently, as well as in my past.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it speaks to all of us. I think that what you said was really profound too, that even if someone else has gone through something similar, their journey has its own unique fingerprint, right? Like it's got its own heart print and mine might not be the same as yours, even though we both went through something similar. And for me, some of the places where I felt the most out of control, where my life was the most out of control, is that I craved that stillness and I couldn't have it because I was dealing with something, but I had to put a facade up and I still had to go to work and I still had to take care of other kids and I still had to, look like I had it all together. At least I thought I did. The alternative was to crawl in bed and not get out for 5 years. And I couldn't figure out how to do that. So for me, it was really difficult to find surrender when it was moving so fast, kind of like finding surrender if you were in a free fall and not knowing how far it was till you hit the ground and what you were going to hit when you got there. And it does a number on your nervous system, right? And we're going to talk about that too, about our nervous system, which is where a lot of our trauma is stored. But I just think for today, having our listeners relate to what times in your life have you felt out of control or lost in the dark with no guidebook, or what are the times that you felt really alone? And that was big for me too, was that I just craved someone being able to say, I understand.
Right.
And we don't always get that. And I think not just thinking about our own journeys, but thinking about other people going through a difficult time, or even other people that look like they've got their facade up and they look like they've got it all together and things are fine. And we don't know if on the other side of that front door of that facade, if we walked in, we might find a whole different scene, right? Of someone just trying to survive, someone just trying to get from 1 hour to the next. And it's all kinds of things are going on in our inner worlds that don't necessarily match what we show the world. And this is us diving in and getting really transparent about that so that people have at least a community that's safe, a community that cares, and a community that can come together and tell these stories and let you know you're not alone. If that's what we can do through our podcast, I'll be elated, is that people can go, wow, that me too. And I don't feel quite so alone, because at the end of the day, oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
That's
I'm trying to find pauses.
You jump in.
I keep trying.
I won't stop talking, Kristen.
I need a hand signal. That's what we actually need.
We do.
Okay. To add on to that, Jenny, I think what has really helped me along my healing journey is to know that and feel safe that people really are holding space for me. If you're not used to that, and when you experience that for the first time, it can be really scary, but it also is something you didn't know that you needed. Like, it is huge to have people holding space for you and really seeing you, which can be hard if you don't really want to be seen. But once you get through that, it brings you to another side, another door to go through, another level in your life that you didn't think you could get to.
Right. And that's another really important thing to bring to the forefront of what we're doing here, because we're not used to being seen. We're not even used to being heard. My coach training from Carol McCall, who was my mentor, is all about what happens to our physiology when we are heard and what happens to our physiology if we are not heard. And she did her dissertation on that. What is the healing power of being heard? And that isn't, oh yeah, I hear you, and you nod and go on, but really deeply hearing not just your verbal, but your nonverbal cues, right? Which includes being seen. And to have that experience is so unusual. It really should not be, but it's the most relaxed. Your body exhales. Your whole body relaxes when you feel someone heard you.
Yeah.
And they listened and you connect in that space. So,
and your heart feels it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And finding that kind of space, that is sacred. That is holy ground in my world. That is holy ground where I can be safe to be where I am in this moment, free to share what's going on in my inner world and bring it into my outer world and have it be honored. And if you don't have that in your life, please create it. And you can create it. But it takes practice, both in the listening and in the being seen. Those are two hard things to do.
Extremely hard things.
More than I wish. So that's how we get through, to be honest. If you just have one other person who can be that and who keeps their agenda out of the way, which is what's necessary to fully listen. We are a society that loves to give advice and loves to step in and fix it and tell people what they should do. And I know for me that I began posting some videos on Instagram, and my hesitation was I don't want to be another one of those people that are just sitting there telling everybody what to do, because there's a lot of people out there doing that. Yet I glean from so many people that are out there telling us what to do. And so I had a little judgment I had to get over for me to join the crowd. But being able to share, and it's talking is one thing, but listening is the gift. And being able to allow a person to not just share their story, but have witness to their story, have witness to their strength, their aloneness, their vulnerability, their courage, their journey gets to be honored and given back to them in a way that says, I see you, I hear you, and I honor you.
I think into that, Jenny, too, the other layer to that, and is really the deep healing part, in addition to being able to be that for someone else, is to be that for yourself. And I think that if you aren't at a place where you trust yourself, or you think you can listen to your own wisdom, it might be where you might need to reach out for support, maybe through a therapist. I can tell you for myself, I've been seeing a therapist probably since right before COVID. for my anxiety. And I have had to do a lot of hard work through my therapist and working with Jenny as my life coach to really unravel a lot of deep patterns and coping mechanisms that I wasn't even aware of, that weren't safe for me anymore. And maybe the word isn't safe, but they just weren't the tool that I needed to go forward with. But I wasn't even aware of that until I started to slow down and I started to unravel and I started to see there's different ways and I do have choices. And the more time that I do spend sacred time with myself, which I do every morning, I'm able to really hear. And you might not like what you hear, I've learned,
Right.
but it is when I do follow those nudges and the wisdom that I get from within, whether you call it God or spirit or the universe, it is so powerful. And if you start paying attention to the synchronicities in your life and the tiny miracles, which will call you to slow down, which I know is not easy for the pace of life that we're in, there is a really magical world out there. And you start to look at your past and all of these horrible things that have happened, and you can see them in a different light.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a really important thing. And what we're going to be covering a lot as we go through this podcast is exactly that. How do we transition from experiencing the horrible things to having gratitude for the experience because of the gift it gave us? And that's what I call transcending the pain and suffering that we've experienced and transcending it into a beautiful experience because of the gifts it offered. And there are always a gift. No matter how horrible, there's a gift on the other side. And I understand so much how insensitive that can sound to anyone who's experienced something horrific. Me too. Like some of the things that I've experienced I don't want the gift of them, right? I went through a phase of, well, I give the gift back. I don't want the experience. It had nothing good. And that leaves me stuck. The problem with that strategy for me, every time I tried it, is I was left stuck in anger or heartache or resentments. And I can't be free. I can't be free of that unless I transcend. One of the things you'll hear us say often, I'll probably say it on every podcast, is that the way that you know that you've healed is that you can tell the story without the emotional charge. You have just enough connection to it to have empathy, but you can tell that story without an emotional charge. So to Kristen, your point, how does that healing happen? How do we transcend the horrible things in life and claim our gift from it? And it takes work. It takes work. It takes focus. It takes energy. It takes time. It takes resource. But there is nothing more important for you to do in your life, in my opinion. And I love what you said about sitting still. For me, was very challenging because my mind, I could hear so many things in my mind. I could hear voices going, get up, do something. It's not okay to sit still. You've got 3 to-do lists to get done. Chop, 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 get after it. Sometimes it was my fear. Don't do that. Don't speak. Don't talk. Don't be seen. Hide out. Don't take a risk. Play it safe. Those voices were going, sometimes all at once. And so busyness, keeping myself busy, silenced some of those voices for me. And when I got unbusy and sat in the silence, they got loud. And it's very hard to hear the still small voice of wisdom underneath all that chaotic, loud voices. So beginning this journey can get challenging. It can be hard. It can be frustrating. It can feel like, what's the point, right? But spending quiet time every day is how, if you went in a gym and you'd never worked out your whole life, you don't start with 100-pound deadlift. You work your way up. And so sitting in some stillness, sitting in the quiet, starting to hear a dialogue, like, what is that voice? Whose voice is it? Why do I have it? Do I want it? Is it only you make rules about it, like only show up under these circumstances, but you don't get to have unlimited time here. I'm in charge now. So it's a big process. When I start to dissect that, what you just so eloquently said, Kristen, is when I start to unpack that, it's like, oh my gosh, we could talk for 3 hours. But you're going to get a taste of all of that. In our journey on this podcast is taking you through a process of awareness, which is finding out awareness is like presence, like getting present. Am I listening to my fear thoughts? Am I listening to beliefs that are limiting? Who installed those beliefs? Are they mine? Am I listening to my heart? Am I listening to that still small voice, that wisdom? What am I doing with myself here? What is important? Am I in alignment? That's a big one. Awareness, acceptance, alignment, all of those things help create that sacred space internally for you to have your life aligned to the miracles and the magic that's out there every single day you walk out in the world. It's not just this horrible, chaotic, declining society that people like to talk about. There's so many beautiful things in the world, and you've got to clear the debris off your windshield so you can see them. You've got to light up your life, put the light out there so that you can illuminate what's good and true and pure. And life begins to change. Life begins to look so beautiful. And all of the hard things, all the times you felt alone, all of those scary moments that you didn't know how to navigate suddenly are gifts in your life. If nothing, but they gave you gifts of wisdom because you kept going.
Yeah. And I would also say, and just to give the listeners some perspective from someone that has just started diving in about 5 years ago, deeply and on purpose, I just want to say that you are so worth the work. I remember when Jenny and I first started working together and I said, why me? Why do I have to be the one to do this in my family? And she said, Kristen, you get to do this. You get to do this and you can do this. And I just want to tell everyone out there, don't give up on yourself, because as hard as this is and the twists and turns and the layers that you peel off, you feel lighter every time. Even though you'll hit a situation and you'll think, oh, I got through this. Why am I here again? You're getting through it in a new way because you're presented with a situation at a deeper level to get through it again, because there was still something there for you.
Right. Yeah, it's hard work, but you're worth it. It's for you. You're doing it for you and you get to do it. And the more that you heal, the more that you grow, the more that you are able to be with other people. It's our path back to finding intimacy and connection in our relationships, in our friendships. It's that safe. You can't be a safe place if you're full of landmines and you're not even safe from yourself. So we're going to work on that. We're going to talk about it. We're going to use our stories to open the door to our healing journey. And that's what makes this fun. So thank you all for being here today and listening to us. We kind of went across the board with what you can get a taste of in the episodes to come, and I hope you'll come back and join us. So as we wrap up today, we kind of went all over the place to give you a little sampling of where and what we're going to be talking about in our podcast. But the points today that I want you to think about is, one, you're not alone. You can find a person to help you in whatever capacity you need to. Don't do it alone. 2, you are worth doing this work. You are worth exploring. You're worth the hard parts of doing the work. It's hard anyway. You might as well get something out of it. So do the work. The third point is, don't be afraid to embrace the unknown. Don't be afraid when life feels out of control, and embrace the experience of it. Yes, you want a soft place to land. Yes, you want to have some stability in your life. But if you find yourself on that dark road and feel out of control, take the steps you need to find your power, because that's what's going to get you through. And last, remember, every story has a gift, and you want to pay attention to the stories you tell. Some are stories of woe, of victimhood, and some are stories of tribulation and joy. And the more you repeat your stories, the more they bring back to you. So tell the stories that are hard so you can heal, and tell the stories of joy so that you have more joy. Until next time, with love, Jenny. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you found a spark of wisdom to carry with you, and maybe even a deeper invitation to heal and grow and transform through your own beautiful story. Or maybe this episode made you think of someone who could use encouragement. And if so, I hope you will share it with them. If you'd like to learn more about working with me or attending one of my healing retreats, coaching programs, and other offerings, you can visit my website at jennyaiello.com or email me directly at jenny@jaiello.com. You'll find all the links in the show notes. If today's episode touched you, it would mean the world if you would leave a review or share it with someone who might need it, or just reach out and let me know how it landed for you. I'd love to hear from you. I'm building something special here. Real stories, real life, real connection. One episode, one heart, and one story at a time. As always, with love. Oh, and this is the legal message, but mostly a message from my heart. And I just need to share this with you right now. Please know this podcast is offered solely for educational and entertainment purposes. If you find yourself triggered due to anything that was shared in this podcast, please seek professional help. This podcast is not intended to be a substitute for mental health services. While I am a professional life coach, I am not a psychotherapist, nor am I a mental health clinician. So if you are struggling emotionally, please seek help, because you matter, you are important, and most of all, you are worthy of doing this work, the work that leads you to a better and healthier place. Okay? All right. Thank you. And please always make enough time to take care of yourself, and do so with love.